All right, it's 10 o'clock. We'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Long Coffee Break. Hope everyone had a good holiday break. My name is Chris Visconti. I'm a sales engineer on the hydronics and plumbing team here at Long. And this morning, we are very excited to have James Stith with Spirotherm with us, and he's going to talk to us about the new vacuum degasser. Take it away, James.
Thanks, Chris. Again, my name is James with Spirotherm. We don't have a lot of time, so I'll get right into it. We're going to talk about air and the new Spirotherm, actually Spirotech vacuum degasser. But before we get into that, I want a brief overview of why it's important. We talk about air in hydronic systems, and we talk about three forms of air. In trained air, that's bubbles you can see when you can see. Trapped air usually gets trapped at the high points, and then the dissolved air, the one that a lot of people don't think about very often, and that's the hardest to remove. Problems that it causes: leaking vents, balancing issues, reduced heat transfer, pump inefficiencies, performance issues, cavitation on the pumps, noise and vibration, corrosion, and then maintenance issues. And the three main problems are reduced heat transfer, reduced pump performance, and ultimately it's the oxygen in the air, in the water, that's causing corrosion. That's where the dirt mainly comes from, is corrosion. So I think we're all familiar with this hydronic heat transfer equation, but that assumes there's no air in the system. The 500 is made up of the specific heat and density of water. If we then put in the specific heat and density of air into that same equation, instead of 500, we get 0.153. So water is over 3,000 times more effective at transferring heat compared to air. That's why we're using water to begin with, and that's why it's so important to get the air out of the water, because the air is effectively giving you zero heat transfer for that portion of the volume. And then as far as the pumps go, this is straight out of a pump manual from Gould's, and it's explaining that, you know, even a little bit of air in the water is going to cause a significant reduction in your pump capacity. So just brief overview of those topics. What we're really here to talk about is the superior vacuum degasser. This is not new technology, it's just new to North America. Developed in the 80s, and they've got, you know, over 40 years of innovation and thousands of successful installations. So it's a proven product, just you haven't seen it much in the United States yet. And it's an active air separation. So I tell people it's completely different from our standard product in almost every way. It requires power. Instead of passive, it's pushing the air out of the water. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. It's sized based on system volume, 1 per 50,000 gallons. That's, again, different from the standard product. And it will eliminate 100% of all air, dissolved gases from the system completely. It can be installed anywhere in the system. It's 2 or 3 3/4 inch taps. So, you know, that can go almost anywhere. The ideal location is where the pressure is most stable, or where there is the most dissolved gas in the water, which would be the coldest temperature, highest pressure. It runs automatically only when it needs to. So it's not very big. It's about the size of a big suitcase. Here's what it looks like with the cover removed, and we kind of have a blow-up diagram of it. The standard product is 2 hoses. The main option that I think probably will become standard is the refill option. So there's a 3rd hose, and that's so you can bring makeup water directly to the unit instead of into the system first. And then if your local code requires an air gap on the makeup water, we can provide this break tank, which serves as your air gap. And then there's 2 pressure options, what we consider standard, and then low pressure option. Those are not field switchable, so you really need to make sure you get the right pressure. So how does this thing work? Well, we have a picture on the left there, and then a diagram on the right. And so what it starts with, this pump down here is running all the time. And when the valves are all open, then it's moving water. But when the valve closes, it's not. So first thing is water's moving, it pulls water into this tank. Next, that valve closes, and when it first does so, you can watch the gauge here. The pressure is in the tank is basically the same as the system pressure because nothing's happened yet. But as I said, this pump is always running. So with the valve closed and the pump running, it starts to draw the pressure down. You can see the gauge changed. And then it draws that pressure down so low that it forces the air out of the water. So the pressure in the tank is very low. The bubbles come out of the water, rise to the top, and then the valve opens again. And when that valve opens, it starts moving water again. So that the water in the tank that was the air taken out of, that water moves back into the system. And at the same time, it's bringing new water to be treated into the tank. And the air valve opens and lets out the air that was removed. The smart switch at the top knows whether or not any air has been removed. If it senses air removed, it cycles again. If it senses no air removed, then it will go to sleep for a predetermined amount of time. So here is a similar diagram, but now it's showing two inlets, one of them being for the makeup water connection. So there's a pressure on the main system, a pressure sensor, excuse me, on the main system inlet. And so when that sensor senses that the pressure of the system is below what it's supposed to be, below the set point, it will then switch to the makeup water, and it will open the makeup water inlet valve. And it will do the same kind of system using the inlet water into the tank, degasses it, puts it back into the system. And as long as the pressure sensor senses you're below your set point, it will continue to do that. As soon as you've added enough water to the system and it is back to normal pressure, then it closes that and it goes back to the normal operation. And that's how that works. So there's a quick overview that you can read, and then we have a video here. So we actually have a demo of the degasser, just like we have our normal demos. However, the degasser demo is not portable. So you might see this if you come to AHR. It's pretty cool. I recommend you definitely come by our booth to look at it. But here's a short video. And it's starting at the end of the last cycle. So the valve opened up, allowing more water in. That water immediately gives up its air. It's pushing the air out of the top at the same time as it's replacing the water. If you watch the gauge, you'll know when the valve closes again, because the gauge will immediately start to drop, because that's a pretty good pump that's always running. And so, yeah, it immediately pulls pressure down. You can see that immediately all the air is coming out of the gas. It's collecting at the top. The air is coming out of the water, pardon me, collecting at the top. And then here in a second, it's going to open the valve, new water comes in, the pressure is still low at the beginning, and that's what's bringing that gas out, forcing the water out, and as it vented all the air out, then the pressure went back up to system pressure. So then it just keeps going. That tank holds about 2 gallons, I believe, and so it's treating that 2 gallons over and over. So a few more details. As I said, it's about the size of a big suitcase. 120 volt power, comes with a plug. You just plug it into any receptacle. Actually pulls about 5 amps. It's got a 24 volt control circuit you can hook up to your control system. We have an 8-page brochure. It's available on our website for you to download. We also have a submittal page. There's controls details in there. I'm not a controls guru, so I'm not going to spend much time on that, but I think all the questions you could have on that side are answered. And so dirt is still an issue. All right, this is an air-only system, and it's a little bit sensitive to dirt. It was created for clean systems. It was created to keep systems clean, but you still need to have some sort of dirt separation technology. Now, Spirotherm still offers those kind of things with our dirt separators, our combination air and dirt separators. The residential wholesale brass product dirt separator has a magnet on it now. We're going to bring that to the steel product pretty soon. What we're seeing a lot of people do is put one of these small magnetic dirt separators on the inlet water line to the degasser, helps to keep the water clean as it's going in there. And then if you have other filtration, that may or may not, satisfy the requirements. So where are we thinking this will go? Retrofits, because there's often not, if a system wasn't designed to have a separator and it doesn't have one, there's often not space to actually put one in. So with this being just a couple or three-quarter inch pipe taps, that's pretty easy to fit anywhere. The downside of the retrofit is if you didn't have an air separator, chances are your system is pretty dirty because of the air and the corrosion and everything. So you still have to worry a lot about the dirt cleanup. And then because this is for ultra clean water and systems that are always on, the mission critical are going to be big users of this, we believe. Skid packages and heat pump designs are some other targets that we're thinking about. So want to kind of finish with, this is kind of a mission statement for Spirotherm. We're trying to get everyone to think of air separators the way they think of all of the other equipment in the system, not just first cost, but efficiency and the overall influence on the system. We believe that high efficiency separators have a lifetime reduction in total cost of ownership and pay for themselves very quickly. And that's just the way that these things need to be looked at. This was a very brief presentation. There's a lot more I can talk about, but Chris didn't really give me a lot of time. That's my contact information and the company contact information. Feel free to contact me directly. Obviously, Chris will be, or one of the hydro team will be your first call, but if they're not available, that's my job, is to be available. So, Chris, back to you.
All right. Thank you, James. A lot of great info there. Like James mentioned, if you have any questions or looking for any additional information, please reach out to your Long sales engineer. James, if you can skip to the next slide, we'll give away this week's prize. So this week we have a $100 Topgolf gift card. We have a dumpster fire pencil holder, and we also have a tech organizer. Please tune in next week. Sean Davenport-Smith will be presenting with Bryce Malone from Nile about some of the new heat pump products that Nile has coming out this year. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks, James.